Stealth games might not be the most popular genre in gaming, which is why releases of this ilk are spread so few and far between. But it's a brand of gameplay that is home to some amazing experiences that just can't be replicated anywhere else. This feature takes a look at the rich history of stealth games and runs down 15 of the best stealth games of all time. With that out of the way, let's begin. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Set against the backdrop of Prague, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided presents a dense network of systems and gives players ample tools to bend those systems to their will. Missions take place in open-ended sandboxes with multiple paths to your objective, and depending on your character build, you can choose to sweet-talk your way through guards, hack into security systems for a convenient backdoor entry, or just blow everything in your path with sheer brute force. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is arguably the series at its best, both visually and mechanically, and it remains a joyous experience even after all of these years. Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew. Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew is one of the latest games on this list, and it does a great job of marrying tactics and stealth together in a beautiful way. Players take on a crew of pirates as they take on missions set in different islands, and you can use different tricks and abilities to dispose of enemies one by one. The level design can get pretty creative, allowing you to flex those stealth muscles as you overcome one brutal challenge after another. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew is definitely worth a shot if you're a fan of stealth games. Hitman 2016. IO Interactive marked a grand return to form for the Hitman series with its 2016 release, which was responsible for laying the blueprint for a new chapter in this long-running franchise. Hitman 2016 ditched the action-heavy elements of Absolution in favour of large sandboxes that put the console hardware to good use, while adding exponentially more replayability to each map. There are dozens of creative ways or opportunities to take down your targets, and replaying each level over and over again is the best way of experiencing what this game does best. Each map is quite literally a playground of possibilities, and you can spend dozens of hours perfecting just one map before giving the suit-only run a shot. Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2 transports players into a fictional rendition of San Francisco, and tells the story of Marcus Holloway and friends putting an end to the intrusive CTOS 2.0 system that controls the lives of the city's denizens. The gameplay heavily relies on stealth and espionage, and you have plenty of tools, ranging from taser guns to drones and RC cars that help in crafting a convenient route to your objective without alerting the guards. Sure, you could blast your way through it all, but that's easier said than done, since enemy forces can overwhelm you in moments unnoticed. As such, it's best to stick to cover and let the hacking do its wonders. A Plague Tale Requiem. A Plague Tale Requiem takes what worked in the original and expands the scope by a significant margin, which adds a welcome sense of grandeur to this emotionally charged narrative. In addition to the riveting story, the gameplay has also seen some massive improvements, and Requiem presents you with large-scale encounters that demand careful usage of the stealth systems to make it out alive. You can extinguish flames to let a guard be devoured by rats, hit an enemy in the head with a sling, or just sneak through the entire level through clever distractions. It's a simple stealth gameplay loop, but one that gives just the amount of player agency to make it all work effortlessly. ARAGAMI 2. ARAGAMI was one of the biggest surprise hits of its time, and ARAGAMI 2 is a solid continuation of that core gameplay. ARAGAMI 2 once again puts you in the shoes of a shadow warrior as he takes on missions of increasing difficulty, and the stealth gameplay has evolved a lot with this rendition, allowing you to take enemies head-on thanks to a new combat system. Between this and the ability to play in co-op, ARAGAMI 2 is bound to be a great time for any fan of stealth games. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes is just a small slice of the larger pie that is Phantom Pain, but that limited scope doesn't make this prologue any less important. On the contrary, Ground Zeroes is better off thanks to its limited scope. Camp Omega is a sprawling playground with plenty of pathways to take, and MGS5's set of stealth gameplay systems is perfect for expressing yourself through creative strategies to get to your objective. And there are plenty of secrets to chase as well, and we won't be surprised if you keep coming back to this one time after time again. The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 is an intricately woven tale about the never-ending cycle of revenge and a staunch reminder of the brutality of The Last of Us's post-apocalyptic world. While certain elements of this story might be up for debate, there's little argument to be had when it comes to the improvements the sequel brings in terms of the gameplay. Ellie is a lot more nimble than Joel, and can crawl under objects and scale ledges quickly, which opens the doors for open-ended encounters that just weren't possible before. Each room can be tackled in a dozen different ways, and you can choose to go anywhere from complete stealth to a psychopath, which adds a new layer of player agency to the gameplay. Sniper Elite 5. Sniper Elite 5 puts you in the shoes of Carl Fairburn, a master covert operative who must take on dangerous operations in an effort to uncover the details behind the mysterious Project Kraken. Much like its predecessors, Sniper Elite 5 puts a lone soldier against insurmountable odds, and the only way through is careful usage of your tools and surroundings to chart a clear path to your objective. In addition to being able to pick off targets using sniper rifles, you can make use of distractions, silenced handguns, and lethal takedowns to thin the resistance one by one. The open-ended map design has seen a ton of improvements, which helps in adding a lot of replay value to each level. Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow. Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow might be one of the most underrated games in this prestigious stealth franchise, and we think that it deserves a lot more love. It's definitely dated in terms of visuals and gameplay, but it was one of the best and most complex stealth sandboxes of its time. Everything from the light and sound meters to the impressive AI and powerful enemies force you to look for ways to stick to the shadows. There's a distinct sense of empowerment that comes from being a ghost in the dark, and almost every level in this entry allows players to do just that. Sure, that won't be easy, but earning that power fantasy is another rewarding experience in and of itself. Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation strikes a great balance between a psychological horror game and a stealth game. The entire story revolves around trying to make your way through hallways and corridors, all while a ferocious xenomorph is closing in to make you its prey. What makes Alien Isolation so special is that the xenomorph is practically undefeatable, and its underlying AI constantly evolves depending on your actions, which forces you to be dynamic and keep altering your playstyle to have a shot at success. It's definitely one of the most stress-inducing experiences, but one that's worth your time. Amnesia: The Bunker. Developed by Frictional Games of Soma fame, Amnesia follows in the footsteps of Alien Isolation, but swaps out the setting for a World War I era-themed bunker that must be escaped at all costs. Much like Alien Isolation, an undefeatable entity stalks you behind every corner, so you must make good use of whatever scant resources that you can find to escape this hellish nightmare. Amnesia: The Bunker is more open-ended in its structure than its contemporaries, which allows you to have a sense of freedom in how you go about things. Of course, that doesn't relieve the tension of an ever-present monster on your back, but it helps in crafting a distinct stealth horror experience that might be worth a shot. The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us Part 1 remains one of the most emotionally charged narratives in the medium of games, but Naughty Dog's magnum opus also doubles as a great stealth action-adventure. The story of Joel and Ellie's massive trek through a post-apocalyptic world is filled with memorable encounters, and stealth is the best chance that you have against these waves of enemies. There's a palpable sense of tension as you slowly tiptoe through narrow corridors and pick off the infected one by one, and with new enemy types constantly being brought into the fold, the gameplay rarely gets old. It might not be as dynamic as the sequel, but its elegance lies in its simplicity. Tenchu, Stealth Assassins. Before From Software made big waves with Dark Souls, the Japanese developer was best known for its work on the Tenchu series. Taking place during the Sengoku period of Japanese history, Tenchu tasks players to take on increasingly tough assassination missions under the cover of night. You can scale up walls, poison enemies, and take down guards to reach your target, and it's not a cakewalk by any means. It's definitely dated by modern standards, but it was an influential series in the 90s, and one that laid the blueprint for the modern stealth action-adventure game. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. From Software's Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is by all means the perfect spiritual successor to the Tenchu series that we discussed before. The game perfectly marries brutal action elements with simple yet satisfying stealth systems, which results in one of the most dynamic combat systems from the developer. Each arena is filled with vantage points that can be used to scan the surroundings and pick off guards one by one, and when swords do clash, you have plenty of options to make short work of your foes. Then there are the boss fights, which are brutal tests of parry timings and swift strikes, and defeating them will make you feel like a true shinobi. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.